Hi everybody, Midway here with another video. We are looking at the MANASTORMS on tyrannical difficulty on a plus 27 the other side. And honestly, I do not enjoy this fight whatsoever, but we gotta deal with it because it's in the game. So let's talk a little bit about it. So there's two bosses in this fight. There's Millhouse and there's Maleficent. Millhouse is the guy, Maleficent is the girl. They are a couple and they are both empowered by Hagar. And they have various abilities, of course. When Millhouse is out, there will be these two crystals that will be up, and there's a beam going from the crystal to the boss, and of course you gotta soak the beam so it doesn't hit the boss, because this beam is going to empower him, and it's gonna make an AoE burst of damage, which sometimes will be a bit annoying. We'll talk about that in a minute, but the beam basically gives you a 2% damage done buff, and therefore that means that you do not want as a healer to be soaking the buff, or rather the beam. You want the beam to be soaked by your DPS, and therefore you as a healer are much more free to just move around, especially dealing with those other beams that happen that are able to stun the boss. But the main problem is just healing up the stacks of this beam and making sure that people do not die if there's a random burst of the AoE. Now, when the second boss is out, Maleficent, the fight will be, I think it's a little bit more consistent at this point. There's gonna be these bombs that you can click as they spawn, so you don't have to move out of melee if you're good enough. Otherwise, you can click them as they're moving out. But the main part, or the main damage in this fight, or this part of the fight, is going to be this. Whenever the chicken, aerial, whatever is happening, there will be 1% targeted by the stun that you have to land onto the boss, and it does a lot of damage. You want usually to be using the sack at that point onto the person that has the stun on them, and likely as well using Devo and your personal. That's the main damage part of the fight that can really kill people. Usually people will be getting one shot there if they don't have a personal, and usually they will also want to immune that if they can, because it can line up to basically be a one shot. Now this also happens on the whenever Millhouse is out. However, the damage in theory should be preventable, but whenever the boss is stunned with the beams, the lasers in this case, and he's doing power overwhelming, which is the cast he does that should be interrupted with the lasers, otherwise you basically wipe. He sometimes, for some reason, the beams seem to go through, like for example here he's doing Diabolical Doom, that's what it's called, and the beam sometimes seems to go away from the people that are soaking them into the boss, and there is a burst of AoE damage happening, and that can kill people that are very high stacks. So I just seem to feel like that's really inconsistent. It makes no sense why sometimes there's this burst, and should always be careful about it, because whenever that point where that's gonna happen, that's when really people should really be topped up. That's when you need those the healing to be really kicking in. During each one of the bosses, there's also going to be some mechanics happening from the boss that's not currently being fought. Whenever Maleficent is out, Millhouse will be shooting frostbolts at whoever the target is closest to. So whoever the tank should usually be the one that's like closer to the boss that's outside of the arena, so they get hit by the frostbolts. The frostbolts don't do much, they just do some damage. And whenever it's Millhouse, the one that's being fought with, Maleficent will be using a basso on whoever the closest target is. In this case, the basso causes some bleed damage, and I think it also roots somebody in place. You basically want to have the tank taking these abilities if they can. Otherwise, other players can take them as well, but it will increase the random damage that is already happening. So you'd rather always have the tank do this so long as it's possible. And at this point, the fight is rinse and repeat. It's one of the longest ones, and it's also, I would say, one of the most boring ones. That's why I said I don't really like it, but I don't think I got any much more to add here, so I'm just gonna let the rest of the fight play out. And yeah, that's all for the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one, and if you enjoyed it and you find it useful, please drop a like and subscribe, and that's it for me. Bye-bye. I'm not supposed to take that tick there.
I'm getting like the crystal one tick. Yeah, or it looks like.
I don't think it got because me and Musk were there.
Yeah, but that was definitely one tick from the AoE.
Yeah.
It's perfect.